Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yogi Bryan Talks. I got Cathy Madeo on. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am like just giddy to be here. I got to tell you. Oh, it says my connection's unstable.
Oh, you look good. You look fine.
Oh, thanks. Cool. Right on.
I can hear it's Zoom. So everybody out there, we're on Zoom. So if it gets a little scratchy, that's how it is. That's how it is. So let's start with an icebreaker here. Tell us something about you that most people don't know.
So many things. I mean, I'm pretty transparent out there, but wow, there's so many things. I think something that might surprise people because I present myself for the most part, very professionally online, but I'm hilarious. And I feel like you can't say that. And people are like, no, you're not, because you just said you were hilarious. But I have like a really dry sense of humor, little dark, little dry. So it comes out on my stories. I let it out on my stories. So, so that's something that I think surprises people. One of the many things. I could go on.
I like it. Humor.
Yeah,
you gotta have humor, especially in the yoga industry. That's why you follow Yogi Memes, Pedro, and me. You like the humor, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Gotta keep it light.
Actually, I have a story that I wanted to share with you.
Yes.
That's okay. Can I just take over this?
Share away. Share away.
Am I allowed to say the F word on here?
You can say the F word. You can say whatever you want on here. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I love your whole brand, if I may call it a brand. And I love what you're doing. And a long time ago, when I first was involved with who is now my ex-husband, hopefully he's not listening. So we had made this pact. We were like thinking about having kids. We made this pact to stop using swear words. We thought it would be good. We were living in LA. We thought how can we live a healthy lifestyle? We're going to be parents. Let's stop using swear words. And so we did for a really long time, over a decade, Brian.
Wow.
Over a decade. Could you imagine being in a relationship with someone?
Yeah.
So I really think that was probably the beginning of our end. And then recently, I don't know if you've caught this, I think I sent it to you because Netflix started this series, I don't know if it's still on, about the evolution of cussing and curse words.
Yes, I love that. I watched it right after you sent it to me. It was perfect.
So good. And the first one was on fuck. It was the word fuck, and which wasn't even a cuss word. It was a science, in a scientific journal or something like that. And it was all talking about how good it is to cuss, how, just like you say, release your fucks, how good it is to let those words out. And it actually stimulates the brain and a lot of positive things in your body. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's science. It's science, everybody. That's why we cuss.
Is backed by science. So I just wanted to share that. And for anyone who's in a relationship, just release your fucks. Just get them out.
Yeah, you got to release your fucks, especially in relationships, especially. Got to get it
my
out.
number one tip.
Yes. Even learning hypnotherapy and hypnosis, that when you say curse words, it gets your subconscious mind more attention. You're oh, what did I say? Fuck. Oh, I'm listening now. So it gets your subconscious mind more in tune and more alert. So yeah, it's science, everybody. Science. Use the F word more.
Yes, I love it.
Yes. So tell me about your yoga journey. What happened? How did it happen? How did it start? Let me know.
So
let us know.
Okay. So if we take the premise to just, yoga to just be asana, it started when I was 19, but my yoga journey actually started when I was very young. I like to think when I was 5 or 6, I had this really, I can't explain where it came from, but connection to whatever you want to call it, source energy, God, whatever. I lived in a tiny town in West Virginia, and that is a state. And I used to walk myself, because my parents weren't religious or anything. I used to walk myself at 5, 6 years old to the local church. And I was yes, I was just so connected. And then I really just loved that connection. And I felt at a very young age, I had this kind of peace peaceful quality, wanted to exude that around others. And then when I was like 15, 16, kind of renounced religion and got really into spirituality, I found a bunch of like Buddhist books and I started meditating. So I was like really into meditation starting around 16 years old. And that was really to me the beginning of my yoga practice, you know, without ever doing an asana or a yoga pose or even really knowing what yoga was. And then at 19, I was at a theater conservatory in Chicago. I was on the path to be an actress. And as part of our program, the movement class was a yoga class. Now, this is 1994. I don't know, were you even born then?
Yeah, I was 12. I was 12
Okay,
then.
okay. No, we're not that far off. Okay, so 1994, you know, they sent us to this guy's apartment because, like, I don't know, are there yoga studios back then? There's not many, and he was this like dude. He was like in tiny black shorts, no shirt, dreadlocks, and he opened the door. He's like, "Come upstairs," and he was an Iyengar teacher, so we would sit in like Virasana, hero's pose, for like 20 minutes. And he would just go off talking about spirituality, which was amazing. And it was like I finally found like the physical finally merged with the spiritual for me. And I was like, this is it. This is it. And I never stopped practicing yoga since then.
Ooh, so you
Yeah.
started Iyengar and sitting in those
Iyengar.
poses.
Sitting in those
Yeah.
poses, yeah. And then, you know,
Wow.
honestly, I thought that was yoga. Like when you're new to yoga, I'm sure a lot of people experience this. Maybe it's different now that you all have online and access to so many different styles. But back then, you know, there was no smartphone or anything like that, right? And so I thought Iyengar was yoga. And so when I moved to LA, I moved to LA shortly after, I sought out Iyengar. And then about 2 years in, I was like, oh, I hate sitting in these poses. This is so painful. There's got to be,
Yeah.
and I started looking around the classroom, like, who are these people? I was like, I think there's another vibe out there. Like, I'm in LA. Let me go, like, you know, figure out, like, suss out the situation. So then I got more, I kind of left Iyengar at that point, but its alignment and its attention to alignment has always stuck with me. It's why I call myself an alignment-based vinyasa teacher.
Yes, I love it. I love all your pictures on Instagram, little social media influencer over
Thanks.
here. And your
Thanks.
alignment's just amazing. All those pictures are just amazing. Did you do yoga teacher training with Iyengar type yoga or?
That's a great question. So I was 10 years in practicing in LA before I took a teacher training, and I took it at a studio. Again, it was the local studio in my neighborhood. That's why I went. It was called Anusara Yoga at the time. I didn't know what that was or really cared, but I loved the studio vibe and I loved the teacher. And while it was Anusara, which I'll explain in a second, it was very kind of like the beginning. You felt the vinyasa vibe because the teacher that I used to teach with a lot was like really strong, masterful practice. A lot of just like cool people would show up to class. They were pressing up handstand before I knew it was called press up and floating into things. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like amazing. But, you know, back then Anusara, the founder, studied with Iyengar. So Anusara is also an alignment-based practice. Anusara has since disbanded because its founder was caught like with like sex cult stuff, like many of the male yoga founders out there. But again, like I took, and a lot of its alignment principles are unfounded. Like I don't even agree with them anymore, but I took the approach to alignment still resonated with me, you know? Yeah.
How
I don't even know what your
cool is
question
that?
was anymore. Yeah.
No, just like teacher training, like how your teacher
Oh
training
yes. So
evolved.
I
Yeah.
took it there. It was almost 18 years ago. So like 2004. And it was at a studio that was so popular that I was too nervous to even ask to teach there. I was like, I'm not good enough to teach. Like, you have to be like somebody to teach here, you know? And then I moved to San Francisco soon after, got married, moved to San Francisco. And I did what I would encourage all new teachers to do. I taught as many classes as I could. I managed a yoga studio. Yeah, I taught 5 classes there. I got on every sub list in the city and in the surrounding area. And I was teaching like up to 20 classes a week. I don't recommend that in terms of like building a career and a livelihood, but if you want to be a good teacher, it's all clocking hours in the classroom. And when you sub, you have to win people over. So I would, because you know what happens when you go to a yoga
Oh
studio,
yeah.
you sub.
Yeah, they're like
Everyone's like,
sometimes they just leave.
they just
Sometimes they're like, I don't
leave.
even want to do
I'm
this
that
class.
I would leave. I'm that person that would leave. Yeah. Yeah. So I learned quickly how to win people over very quickly. And I think that was one of the best training years for me, was just teaching nonstop, everything, everyone and everything.
Everyone, everything, just teaching nonstop. That's awesome. Everybody out there that is just beginning your yoga teacher journey, teach. Just get out there and teach. What's your top 3 things of advice that you give to like a brand new yoga teacher just stepping out of they got their certificate, they're leaving the studio?
Yeah. So teach. I look at my classes, especially like, well, any class, as like a sandbox. And so maybe that's not the right analogy, because that sounds a little bit too playful, but it's almost like a science experiment. So you're learning all of these things, you have them all in your brain. You don't know actually how they're going to come out when real people are in the room and you have real feedback happening, right? Because in teacher training, it's simulated. Even the practicums, you're teaching to other teacher trainees, right? The second you get a real life person who like cannot do downward facing dog, you're like, shit, everything you just learned just went out the window. Right?
Right.
And so, yeah. And so I think it's like, you have to teach to be a good teacher. And then what you do in the classroom is all trial and error. You say the cues. If you're saying cues and students aren't doing them, no matter what your teacher trainer said for you to say, if your students aren't responding, it's not an effective cue. Swipe it away, try something else, right? So like the classroom becomes like a great trial and error kind of situation. And so that's like maybe that's my number 1 tip. My number 2 tip is, maybe it's all kind of like centers around that, of just like not being too good to take anything initially. It's like you're a brand new teacher, like you
Yeah.
gotta pay your dues a little bit. You gotta teach a little bit. Teach to your friends, teach to your grandma, teach to all different body types, and really get to know people. And then I think I'll also just be patient, because you take your 200-hour, it's 200 hours plus worth of information that can't possibly be processed in that short amount of time. Like my online
Right.
teacher training
Yeah.
is 8 weeks. And I always tell them, you all are going to be processing everything I just, put out there for years. Every time you go to someone's class and you hear a teacher's cue, you'll be thinking it through your teacher training. Every time maybe you didn't get that pose that you wanted in teacher training, but a year later, something will click, your body will open. So I guess be patient. Yeah.
Be patient. Yeah,
Yeah.
patience for sure. Yeah, when I first started teaching yoga, I loved feedback. I asked for feedback all the time in my classes. And yeah, and like you said, it's like reading the room. If you say a cue and no one's doing it, like you're going to have to do something else. Like, yeah, no matter what you learn in teacher training, it's like that's not working for the people that are in front of you. So how do you feel about like feedback? How should a yoga teacher should they ask for
Mm.
feedback always, or have someone like a teacher that comes in and watches them every now and again? Like, how do you get better with feedback?
I think feedback is so important, and it's probably really scary to get. And when I teach my teachers in my teacher training, um, I call it coaching. When we practice teach, I don't just let them spit it out. Like I'm there coaching them, because they're probably not going to get anyone again like me, being that honest with that many years behind me in the classroom, right? And so I try to train them to take feedback, because some people have a problem with feedback, and it's like, no, this is for you, for your benefit. And then in terms of like student feedback, which is like, okay, that's not maybe a teacher or anyone with any like skill or knowledge about yoga. But if your student is like, that class was too slow, or that class, I didn't like this one thing, or I think not necessarily listening to it to the extent that if it doesn't vibe with your niche or who you are, you're going to change yourself, but taking into consideration the way people feel, because again, that's that real feedback. Or like sometimes the feedback is nonverbal, right? The student doesn't come back to your class.
Yeah.
or
rolls up their mat after the first
yeah.
sun salutation or something.
Yeah,
They're out.
right. Yeah. And so like, again, you don't want to take it, I would say don't take anything personally, but we can learn a lot from our students. In fact, for me, my students are my best. Everyone asks me, who's your favorite teachers, or, who are your teachers? And I say my students are. I learn
Yes.
everything from my students. Oh my gosh, they blow me away. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that nonverbal too. Like they'll tell you non-verbally, like even if they're
Yeah.
like your best students, if they're like something just didn't vibe with them or they weren't feeling it, like just
Yeah,
kind of reading their body language and like noticing
exactly.
that, because yeah, not everybody's comfortable expressing themselves and giving you like honest feedback. So it is,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, okay, why
Yeah.
didn't
But
that person
sometimes,
come back? Or
yeah, I remember when I first moved down to Florida, it's like a whole different vibe down here. It's like a lot of power yoga. It's all like hot yoga, even though it's like 100 degrees here. And I got it, was teaching at a studio. I'll give them a shout out. It was Thrive Power Yoga. They're amazing, in Palm Beach Gardens. And my first class was a power class. Now, these students are devoted. They love their butt kicked. It's hot, sweaty. There was like 40 people. They all like had probably heard about me. The owner was giving me great recommendation, and I teach class, and like 3 people came up to me and was like, that could have been harder. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. It's like, I never know at this point with my practice, I don't know anymore what's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
right. And so I was like, you know what? I said, I want you all to come back to my class. I'm going to kick your butt. And they all came back, and I
love
kicked their
that.
butt. And I was like, okay, now I get their standard of what power is. And I just brought it up, and like, I needed that feedback. And had I taken that personally, like, oh, I suck, or I can't teach power, it's like, of course you can. You know what I mean? It's just like figuring out the tone and the pace and what people want, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Listening to your students. Yeah. You listen to them and then you adjusted and then you rocked the class and you came back. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
Everybody listening, take that advice for sure. Listen to your students. Your students are your best teachers for sure. And who's your favorite teachers?
Damn it, he asked me.
Other than the students, like other than the students, other teachers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I really admire so many people out there. Some of them are like great that aren't even in the yoga world, like Gabo Saturno, he's a calisthenics coach. I really learn a lot from him. I My yin teacher, Ellen Moscow, we're actually launching under my brand. She's doing a yin training under my brand, because like her teaching and yin completely transformed my yoga practice, both internally and externally. And so it's kind of interesting. I find a lot of inspiration a little bit from the sidelines of like the yoga practice and these little bit more specialized groups. And I don't know if that's just because I've been practicing so long. I'm 27 years in. And at this point, it is, I'm trying to think of like the last time I did like a training and felt like super connected to a teacher. I don't know that I have that anymore. It's more like, oh, so many people are putting out so much amazing stuff. Let me go ingest that, and then, bring it through my knowledge and stuff. And then let me test
Hmm.
little things out there has kind of been my process a little bit.
Yeah, I feel that just because there's so many teachers out there and there's so much content out there, it's
Yeah.
very easy to find some just really great stuff that you can integrate with your practice, your mind space, things like that. Tell
Yeah.
me
Who are
about
your
yin.
favorite?
Like
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Mhm.
what transformed you with yin? Like what was it about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so I should start the very first yin class I took, I don't know, maybe a really long time ago, 10 years ago, probably. I absolutely hated it. And I was like, this sucks and I will never take yin again. Okay. And then like 5 years later, I took another yin class and I was like, nope, still hate it. You know? And then Ellen Moscow, this woman, was doing a yin training. And I was just like kind of like attracted, like magnetized to her energy. I was like, I'm going to sign up for this training. So I signed up for the training, and during like wait in the span of when I signed up to the training happening, I actually ended up with emergency back surgery. And
Ouch.
yeah, I actually got to a point, Brian, where I was like in a wheelchair, couldn't walk. So like I actually couldn't move my left
Wow.
leg. Yeah. And it was like, you have to have surgery tonight, or who knows what's ever going to happen to you. And I was like,
Scary.
okay. Yeah. So when I came out of surgery, 5 weeks post-op, this yin training was happening. I couldn't move still. I could barely move. And I was like, I was still called to the training. I can't explain it. And so I showed up. I didn't know if she knew who I was. I showed up and I looked at her. I probably had tears in my eyes because I was in so much pain. I said, I just had surgery. I can barely move, but I want to take this training. Do you mind if I just like lay down or sit? I'm not going to be able to do a single pose. I said that to her. I'm not going to be able to do a single pose. And she kind of looked at me. She put her hand on my arm and she said, of course, welcome. So Brian, I go in, and this woman, who now is a dear friend of mine, proceeds during the whole training to modify every single posture she took for my body that could barely move,
Oh,
every
love
single
that.
one. And I was like, this teacher is a skilled freaking teacher. She didn't even bat an eye. And she also didn't make me feel uncomfortable. She'd be teaching the thing. She'd walk by real quick. She'd whisper in my ear what to do and then move on. So that was kind of the very like start of my journey, and like being like kind of swept away by a teacher. I hadn't been felt that way in a really long time. And then I started to incorporate the principles of yin, because remember, I could barely really move my body, in my yoga practice. And that's when this huge shift internally and externally changed, because in yin, you hold the poses for a long time, like 3 to 5 minutes. And it's very quiet. And a lot of the poses are like your head is down. It's very like
Hmm.
humbling. Like my little daughter used to say, like, Mommy, you're scaring me. I can't see your face. I'm like, I'm doing yoga. And so it's this like really quiet thing. And I think why I didn't like yin for the first few times is I couldn't sit with that quiet. And then I also couldn't sit with how uncomfortable I was. I'm after surgery sitting in these poses, and it was really uncomfortable, Brian. And I suddenly realized, wait, that's not pain. I had this moment. I was like, that's not pain. I've been telling myself that's pain. And then coming out of the pose, because I thought that was pain and I was like doing good to my body, I was like, no, that's just like uncomfortable. It's like, I was like, oh. And then I started staying in the poses and being uncomfortable, staying in the poses and being uncomfortable. And then my body just started, it was just like unraveling. And then I was like, and I was like in the pose and I was like, oh, this feels good. It suddenly like what switched to like pleasure. I was like, oh, like now I'm like in a split and I'm like, oh, this feels good. Like hang out in a split like it's nothing, you know? And so that taught me a lot just about off the mat, like those
It's almost
moments
like
when you,
surrendering, right? Like
yeah,
felt like surrendering into the
yeah,
discomfort and you're just allowing
yeah.
it.
And well, I think like we, especially as right now, our species puts there's stigma around being uncomfortable. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to feel hungry, tired, pain, like whatever is, if we are, we run away to avoid it. And the whole yoga practice, right? The whole tapas, the whole everything bubbling to the surface, the discomfort is the process. You can't transform or change without being uncomfortable. And so if you're constantly running away from that discomfort, you're always running away from change. If you can like surrender, like you're saying, surrender and drop in, then the yoga begins. That's when the yoga
Mm,
begins.
yes, that's when
Yeah.
the yoga begins. I love that. It really
Yeah.
is.
So
Surrendering,
true.
drop it in. That's when the healing happens, and like the emotions come up, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
uncomfortable. That emotion's uncomfortable. That feeling's uncomfortable, but comes up, goes out.
yeah. Now I'll say for the people that are more like, because I get super lit talking about spirituality, something that people probably surprises people about me on my page. But for the people that are interested in the physical, yin, its purpose is to stretch the myofascia, right? So, and if you think of fascia as like a webbing around the muscles and the organs, and the way I like to describe it is like, have you ever like stretched and stretched and stretched, done yoga, certain kind of yoga, or like whatever you're doing, and like, no, this doesn't do anything. You're not getting
Yeah.
any more flexible, right?
Yeah.
Right. I like to use the imagine, well, if the fascia is encompassing a muscle, and even if you're stretching the muscle, but the fascia is hardened,
Mm.
you can stretch that muscle all you want. It's not going anywhere. You have to reshape the fascia, right? And that's what yin does. And that's definitely what it did for my body. Yin in and of itself as you don't want to practice just yin. You don't just practice and stretch just passively like that, but incorporating it into, for those that want to increase their flexibility, if you're not practicing yin, I want to like blow your mind, because you should start practicing yin.
Do it, everybody. I love yin. And
It's
most
okay.
people that I talk to, it's the same story. Like they hated it at first. I hated yin at first. I took a yin class at the studio. I was doing my teacher training, and it was just torture sitting there, like being in my head, being quiet, and just sitting in a pose for like 3 to 5 minutes.
Right.
So painful. Like it felt painful, but it was just the discomfort. And then after
Yeah.
a while, I'm like, I love this practice. Like it's one of my go-tos just to heal just my body and my mind. If I go sit in like a pigeon, or sit in just a hip opener and sit there for a while, like all those feelings come out, and then my body just like starts to surrender and relax and settle and kind of let go all that tension that I was holding on to. So yeah, everybody
Right.
out there, practice some yin. I'm telling you.
Practice some yin. I'm
Yes.
dropping a yin training in 2 days. So go
Ooh,
take
boom.
that. I
two
know.
days. Yes.
The other thing that I think, the last thing I'll say about yin is that the discomfort, you are actually feeling discomfort, because yin puts stress in the joints. That's one of the things that it does. So like, it's actually like retraining your brain, instead of like, ooh, discomfort bad, ooh, discomfort good. And I do that off the mat now too. When something challenging happens in my life, it's like, ooh, this is the juice. This is the good stuff. Like what can I push, or not push through, but yeah, what's going to come up here, and how can I, where's this, there's going to be a silver lining if you can kind of sit with it.
Yes, the yoga off the mat. That's where the real
Yeah.
magic happens, off the mat. It's like all the practice that you're practicing on the mat comes in on those challenging times. You're like, oh, okay, I can settle through this. I can breathe through this. I can feel it. This is the juice, it's right
Yes.
here. Yeah. And
Yeah.
your trainings, I saw you do your trainings, and I think you like posted a picture of like everybody in the Zoom, and there was like so many people in your Zoom class. Tell the audience out there, maybe if they're just looking for a yoga teacher training or just starting, like I tell everyone, like go, like if you're practicing yoga, do a teacher training, no matter if you're going to teach or not. It is transformational, and it's some of the best money. It was my best money I ever spent, because you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. And it's like you can never get rid of that. Like once you have that training, once you have that knowledge, you can't get rid of it. So talk about your teacher training, someone that's just on the fence that needs to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, it's so true. It's really priceless. And, all of the students are testament to that. Just like they're just gushing, just like, oh my God, this is the best experience of my life. So, um, but teacher training, for those students that are not sure, just as you said, is part of the yoga journey. Like in the yoga world, this is how we do it. And like, if you want to learn yoga, really learn yoga, you take a teacher training, because you're not going to get it in these little bits and pieces from taking random people's classes. And the 60-minute kind of studio class is not designed really to teach you yoga. It's kind of just designed to do yoga and move your body around and this and that. And you get fed little bits and pieces. But if you want like a really to understand what yoga is, and more than just the poses, the whole, 8 limbs and everything that yoga is about, that's how you do it. That's what you do. I get so many people that take my online teacher training. A lot of them, it blows my mind, Brian, a lot of them started yoga during the pandemic. They've never been to a yoga studio. They've been piecemealing things together, YouTube, Instagram, and then because I talk to every single person that applies to my program, we get on the phone for about 30 minutes. So I love that conversation because I learned so much about everyone out there and their lives, all over the world. And they all say the same thing. I've been practicing for a while at home, and I don't know if I'm doing it right, quote, right, there's no right, but like, I don't. And yeah, I get that. You don't. How can you not? You just by yourself at home, it's like you're doing the best you can, right? So it was really important to me when I put my online teacher training online, because I'd been leading teacher trainings in person for years, to have 2 things. One, like very high quality recorded videos that would be evergreen, meaning really good quality where they could watch it over and over and enjoy watching it over and over. I wanted to set the bar high for other people making teacher trainings. But 2, have quite a bit of hours that were live, real, like, so that we can do that whole feedback thing. So I can give them feedback about their poses. That's what they're paying for. I've actually had students take my teacher training who took an online teacher training that are just like, here's all the videos. And they and the person's like, and then you take a test at the end, So I really like to do the hybrid. And the results are just incredible. Seeing, I've graduated, I think it might be 150 now, 150 teachers all over the world.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
How cool is that?
It's incredible. It's like creating this global community. And there, I can speak, like, the results are in. I've come across some teachers that are like, you can't do online teacher training. And I'm like, well, have you done it? Because I have the real results. I have students who've done my in-person and done my online. And honestly, I think online is better because you can watch the videos over and over. Like, you go in person, you sit in a studio for long days, 7 hours. After a while, the information's just going in one ear, out the other. You do anatomy for 7 hours in person, you don't remember any of that. But you have 10-minute short videos on anatomy that you can digest and rewatch at any time. People are learning so much. And then also, because it's online, I have them submit videos of their practice and teaching. As grueling as it is for them to record themselves, oh my gosh, that is priceless. To record yourself and have to watch yourself back. And just the process of them trying to submit something that they think is perfect, they'll probably spend 2 hours on a 3-minute video. And just that process alone is making them better, both at their poses and teaching. Didn't do that ever in real life, didn't even think to use video in that way, right? So now when I go back to teaching in real life, I'll definitely stick with a hybrid approach because I find the video to be so effective.
Yeah, that's smart to do the hybrid approach because it's true. Like when I did my yoga teacher training, it's like you're in an anatomy class for a certain period of time, and then it's like you rely on your notes and your memory compared to being able to just replay and watch and go over, because you might be tired one day and miss a lot, but at least you can go back and kind of get in your subconscious mind. So I really like that approach, the hybrid approach. And especially when you're recording your video, it's just nerve-wracking enough to record a yoga video. I remember when I first started just making content and my first yoga video on YouTube or whatnot, I was so nervous just staring at a camera and like no one else is there. So it's like, especially in like today's like technology, like there's so much content. It's good to get that practice of recording your classes. So awesome on that.
Yeah, definitely. Because that is another, a lot of these benefits I didn't even expect. But then they came out, and that is people that are learning online are learning how to teach online. So both online and in person, which is really, really cool. And we talk about that a lot because, you know, there's so much you can do online. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's such a brave new world out there.
So much you can do online, and you are crushing it online with your social media platform, your Instagram. How did that, like, when did you start your Instagram?
I want to say maybe like 2015. I think I've been on there 6 years.
Okay.
6 years. Yeah. So you might look and say, oh, she's crushing it, but it's a slow growth. I mean, Instagram is pretty slow. I think some people get lucky, but it was a slow growth. And I had a couple years where there was like explosive growth. I think I went from like 30 to 80 within a year, and then 80 to over, you know, to about 120 in a year. But by some people's standards, that's slow. You know, I don't know, but Instagram is a bit of a beast.
It is. I feel you. It is a beast. It is.
Yeah. Are you on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok. I love TikTok. That's my favorite platform. I consume a lot of my content on TikTok now. Like if I just need to laugh for like 30 minutes, I'll just go on TikTok and find videos. And also like the educational videos are just, I feel like I like that platform more than Instagram now. When I go on Instagram, I get a little stressed out. There's just a lot of too many things and too many ways like people can contact me, which is great. But it's like TikTok, I just feel is fun. Like I have fun when I go on there. How about you?
Yeah, I love TikTok. I was brought on by TikTok to be a creator over there. Am I allowed to say that?
Amazing.
I hope so.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm a
see.
creator on there too. So
Oh yeah, perfect.
thank
We're
you
allowed to
so
talk
much,
about that.
I'm
Thank
in the
you,
TikTok
TikTok.
creator
Thank you,
program.
TikTok.
Oh, look at us.
I think
Boom.
they might have stopped that, but I know I got an email saying they stopped it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so I did have what's cool about I have twice the amount of following on TikTok when I've been on there maybe a year versus like I have like 270 something thousand followers over there. And I'm almost never on it. So it is nice
That's
because it's like I can
awesome.
put myself out there. It's just different. You don't have to respond to the comments. I don't respond to DMs. Like a video can go viral over there. It's like Instagram is like I'm on Instagram all day long, commenting, responding
Same.
to DMs. It's just like woo. Now I love my Instagram is great because there's an actual yoga community, which I love. You know, that's like my family. I know you know that. TikTok's
Yes.
just regular people. There's no yoga community there. If there is, I don't know them. But I don't think the people that follow me are yoga people. They're just like, who's this chick?
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, Instagram
Yeah.
is the community. Like if I don't go on Instagram, I'm like missing my community compared to
Yeah,
like I post on TikTok and it's just out there. Like it's just out there, and
exactly.
it grows faster and it goes viral faster. But I don't really have that contact other than consistent comments of certain people that are commenting consistently. But that's maybe a handful. It's not like
Right.
Instagram where it's like you
Right.
got that constant direct message or comments. You got your crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to follow you. I might follow you already, but
I
I'm
think
never
I
on
follow
there.
you
So
already. I just really don't go on as
I
much. Like
know.
I have like my funny comedians that I just go and watch them and like laugh and then get off TikTok. But
Yeah.
it's like when I go on Instagram, it's also just like business too. I'm just responding and commenting. Like I'm
Responding
not really
so
like a
much.
consumer of Instagram of like the
Right.
content. I'm just on there, responding.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. What's your advice on how to build a social media, how to grow social media? Maybe
Yeah,
like
that's
top
such a
three.
great, yeah, top three. So consistency is key. Really, you really need to post consistently, both for your people and for the algorithms, you know, if we want to take those things to be legitimate things. Um, knowing like, I think when people are new, what I see with a lot of my teacher trainees that maybe are just starting account or they've been on there and then they realize through the teacher training, maybe they want to teach and maybe they want to start taking their pages, I don't know, more quote seriously or something like that, or just more strategically or more thoughtfully, more mindfully. I think we have we're human beings and we want to interact socially. And so we just kind of like want to post stuff. We want to post stuff that we like or da, 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 da. But if you're going to, I think, present yourself as a brand, it is kind of, I would say, time. You're going to be authentic with who you are, but really know who you are. Really, really like ask those deep questions. What's my why? Who am I? What am I skilled at? How can I offer value? And then that's what you post. And you don't post anything else. Save it for your stories, just value. Who are you? What's your why? Make connection and not cut out everything else. That people don't need to see it.
Great advice.
Or read it,
Yeah.
And I think like there's like, I know when I first got on Instagram, I'm curious about you, like there was a lot of like hacks you could do, like the follow and the unfollow and like the commenting and the liking. And then after I hit about 1,000 or 3,000, I was like, I'm done. That's time consuming. And that is not a good use of all the pods people were doing. And I think all of that stuff, honestly, is a waste of time. Know who you are, make good content, show up every day. Done.
Yes, absolutely. That is great advice. When I first started Namaste AF, so my first Instagram, when I grew that, I think, for the first like 5,000, I did the unfollowing or liking. You can figure out how many you can follow, like 50 people without Instagram, like shutting you down or whatnot. Just all those stupid tricks.
Yeah.
And then finally I just focused on like making content for people, like to give them value. I listened to some Gary V, actually Pedro Luna from Yogi Memes. He really like helped me, and just like do post value memes or whatever, like make people laugh. And then it just skyrocketed after that. Like it grew a lot faster than following and unfollowing and just all that, the gaming stuff. So if anybody is out there doing that, stop it. Just figure out how you can help someone, make them laugh or educate them, and just post that. And like you said, consistency. Maybe do something every day for 30 days or just get it out there. You might have like one post that does well out of your 30, posts in 30 days. So yes.
Yeah. And by the way, I got about 130,000 followers. It's the same for me. Maybe I have on Instagram at this point, 1 or 2 posts a month, but I still that do really well. I still show up every single day. I serve the people that follow me, and that's like, that was a big shift for me. I kind of let go of like needing to grow my Instagram. It's like, just show up for the people who show up for you, just serve them, even if it's 1,000 people, just serve those people. Yeah.
Just serve those people. I feel you. I don't even worry about growth anymore. Like I'm just like, I'll post it. Sometimes if I don't post for a while, you can see the followers going down, and it's just like, that doesn't matter for me anymore. It's like, like you said, just posting for the people that are there, and just like teaching too. If 3 people show up to my class or 1 person shows up, you got to just teach to who's there. You might not have like a sold out class or whatnot. In your mind, you wanted it. I want like 100 people here, but like 3 people show up. It's all good. I'm going to teach to you 3 people. Rock it out.
100%. Yeah. Give it your all. You could change someone's whole life from one little thing that you say. And that is like so much more meaningful than teaching a room full of 40 people.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such good advice. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Sure. And what are you working on right now in your practice?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. So to be completely honest, I do normally have goals in my practice. So like last year it was middle splits, always working on my handstand, even after all these years. Right now, my cycle right now is I'm so in production. I'm almost done with producing my 300-hour online teacher training. And Brian, that was a beast. I mean, it's not 300 hours worth of content, but close. It's like 120 hours worth of video content. It's just like so much. Yeah. And so like at this right now, I'm just maintaining. I am just like maintaining my practice. I'm still practicing all the time. I still condition my body, but I'm maintaining. And once I close that chapter, which I'll be done producing it in October, I'm like really excited to see what's next for me, because I do think it's important as a practice. One of the reasons why I think I have stayed in, there's a couple of reasons why I think I've stayed in the yoga practice as long as I have. Again, I've been practicing 27 years, teaching almost 18, is I stay super curious. Like I evolve. I don't stick to things that I learned and knew 10 years ago, right? I'm constantly like refreshing and downloading new information and staying really curious and setting goals with my practice. Because when we don't set goals, we meander, right? And you'll meander on your mat and you'll just, oh, let me do this, let me do this. But if you have like some kind of goals, and again, it's not even about getting the pose. Even if you never got the pose, it doesn't matter. But having a goal, a path will, you get on the path, you get on the journey. So I've been thinking about it a lot because I'm knowing that October is a month away. I'm going to be done closing this production. And it's like, okay, I want to really get back to my practice, get back into like shape. And not that I'm not in shape, but I had COVID in May. And I used to pull ups and everything. I can barely do a pull up anymore. Still, it's crazy. I definitely lost a lot of strength. Yeah. So I want to get way back into the same level of shape I was in, even more. And then I'm really curious to know what pose. I usually pick one or two poses that I focus in on that I can't do. You got to pick something you can't do, or something you can do, but you're not. Yeah, you want to like if you can do handstand, well, what's next? Is it holding it for longer? Is it doing different transitions? Is it press up? Like, what's next? So yeah, so I will get back to you on that.
Ooh, I'm excited to see. I'll be watching. I'll be staying tuned. Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you'd like to share before we end here?
What a good question. I guess for those that this is just coming to me, so I'll just go with it. Like, because I imagine a lot of people on here are coming on here because they follow you on Instagram or they follow me on Instagram. And, you see a lot of stuff out there that might make you think you need to be doing that, or you're not as good as that, or any of that. And that's just like, everyone struggles. Like, you might look at my page and be like, oh, she's so flexible, and I am not flexible. And, I've worked so hard for my flexibility, and there's so many poses in yoga I can't do. Like I have spine injury. Like I basically can't do a single back bend, and it's just like, it's just not the point, And so digging deeper, if you're into the aesthetics, or you're into wanting to get poses, you're going to get them, and then what? So like there has to be a deeper meaning on your journey, and I can't really answer that, what that is for you, other than just going deeper into what the asanas, or if there's a picture out there that you want to get like that, like what is that's driving you? And if it's ego based, or it's something in you that feels not enough, if you can like kind of rewrite that story a little bit. That probably wasn't assisting because I could have made it, but that's what came to me in the moment.
I like that. Yeah, because if you see a picture and you get there, and it's like, well, what's next? You get to the other picture, then get to the other picture, and then maybe your body, can't get to that picture. So then what?
You're right.
It's like, and if you're motivated enough, like you can get to every picture and then do it, and then what? Right. So that is really good advice. It's like, what is driving you to get there? It's a good question.
What's the driver?
Yeah.
Intention is everything. Intention is everything.
Yes.
And if that intention isn't maybe life enhancing to you, like that's the pose underneath the pose. That's the pose that you want to work on.
Right. Yeah. It's like the journey getting to look like the picture. Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. And where can people find you?
You can go to my website. So it's cathymadeoyoga.com. Instagram, of course. Everything's at Cathy Madeo Yoga. So TikTok, YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. I have a lot of freebies. If you go onto my Instagram and go into Linktree, you'll see like there's a free flexibility ebook, handstand ebook, core ebook. So I do offer a ton of value that is digestible and free, so you can get to know me. And of course, if you really want to deepen your practice, you should join me for teacher training.
Boom. There you go,
Boom,
ladies
boom.
and gentlemen. Right there. And it's in the description. You know, I take care of you. You know, I link everything in the description for you. Go follow, go support Cathy. And if you're on the fence, and you want to take teacher training, just do it. Just do it, because it is worth it. It is 100% worth it. You invest in yourself, you invest in your future. So go check out Cathy. She's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Cathy.
Thank you so much, Brian.
You're welcome. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
Boom.